Hi guys, so in this episode I'm going to address the problem that I see with most of this so-called functional training. Now, I see on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube a constant and steady stream of coaches and trainers and athletic centres with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, in some case millions of subscribers, and these people are watching information that I would say is greatly misunderstood. It's grossly ignorant, and it means that the information that's being put out we could even go as far to say it's malpractice. The problem with most functional training. Now, specificity has been completely misunderstood. In the case of sports, specificity is its false magnitude, its direction, false direction, and its intent, yeah? It's not whether an exercise looks like a sport. If it looks like the sport, it's not the sport. And this is very, very important. So important that your career or your playing days could depend on this, whether you are a successful athlete or not. The moment that we add any kind of instability through wobble boards, chaos, unnecessary complexities, the nervous system can down-regulate force, or it will down-regulate force, because balance becomes the limiting factor, not the strength. You can't do the two together. So then you have to say, so what are you training? Okay, what are you training? You're not training performance. You're basically training coordination, some kind of coordination under a load. Now, sports don't reward these kind of novelty training programs or exercises, which they're not exercises, they're non-exercises. Sports reward high force, high speed, and repeatability, measurability as well. So if an exercise can't be progressively overloaded, if it produces lower force, especially compared to the actual sport that you're doing, if it divides your attention, like from strength to balance, then the carryover is zero. That's it. End of story. Drop the mic. I'm not trying to be big-headed here. I'm trying to educate and take back the insanity that is running rife in the health and fitness genre that's out there at the moment. And even worse, the loaded chaos, okay, it adds fatigue, doesn't increase capacity, and this will actually interfere with actual sport performance. It will interfere with your motor control systems if you're constantly doing these functional training exercises. Don't let the gym be there to mimic your sport. It cannot mimic your sport, okay? It doesn't matter what any of these coaches and trainers and athletes, yes, even professional athletes. I've worked in the professional athlete genre, and I can tell you that they are just as confused about which exercises they should do as anybody else. And they often can take advice from as many bad coaches as there are good coaches. And there are many career of athletes that haven't reached their true potential because of the failure by their training systems and their coaches. There is way more failures than there is successes, but we want to limit that. We want to change that around so people are actually, or athletes, or anybody who's in the sporting genre who loves their sports, like I do, like I always did, I took bad advice and I thought it was right. I've done all this functional training. I've been there and trained with some of the best trainers in the world, at least in the Western world. I've worked with them. I've learnt their systems. I've trained under them. And I can now turn my back on 90% of that as an exercise system for improving sporting performance. We're not talking about rehab here, yeah? We're talking about improving sporting performance or athletic ability. So like I said, the gym, don't let it mimic your sport. The gym's where you build your engine. It's where you build your strength and power. The right kind of exercise will increase muscle mass, which will increase your ability to produce more power, more contractile elements. Combined with your sport practice, that where that sport happens, what you actually do for a sport, you will be a winner and you will be able to recover and repair and be way, way less prone to injury. Because a lot of this functional stuff, they will kid you saying, oh, if you do it properly, there's no risk to injury. But you can see it. If you're balancing in a position, you are more at risk of an injury than if you're set on the floor, both legs solid, strong, without having to balance. There's no comparison. No sane person could compare a balancing exercise to a static exercise where you're both feet on the floor, you're nice and solid and strong. I don't mean static as in not moving, but static as in solid and moving at a slow, controlled rate. You do not need to train fast to be fast. That is another fallacy. I'll address that more in a lot more of my posts. But do not believe, you do not need to train fast to be fast. You do not need to hit fast twitch muscle fibers by doing Olympic lifts, for instance. That is not going to make you faster on a rugby field. Anyway, when you start to blur the lines between this training, you're just going to get tired athletes at greater risk of injury. Their motor control system is going to start to be confused. You are not making better athletes. And we want to make better athletes. So listen to what I'm saying. If you've got any questions, and I mean, let's have some serious questions or discussion over anything that I've just said, okay? And I'm going to go over it one more time for you, right? Okay. Specificity is false magnitude, it's false direction, and it's the intent. It's not whether the exercise mimics or looks like the sport. Do not buy into this. You're buying into something which is just going to break you down for no reason other than it looks funky. I've just seen a guy who was he was showing anti-lateral flexion exercise. You know, and he's got somebody in a warrior pose with their arms above their head, and he's got a band around their arms, and he's doing perturbations on the band, so he's pulling the band from the side, and the guy's wobbling, and he's got to try and prevent it. The same as a guy doing a deadlift on a BOSU board, and then the coach takes away the weight on one side of the bar, and the athlete's got to try and resist. Now, in the case of both of those two, you are balancing. You cannot apply full strength to this. An example of something you could do better would be a heavy loaded suitcase hold or carry. I prefer a hold. You don't need to walk, but you can. A heavy suitcase load. That will give you all you need as transference to the sport, because you are strengthening a muscle or a group of muscles, fully enroad them, fully exercise them, and that's all you need to do. Yeah, I'm not saying it's the only exercise, there are other things, but I'm just giving you an example. You do not need to do these ridiculous, stupid exercises where you're throwing balls around, you're balancing on things, you're loading it at the same time, you're using bands to pull you over. Like, I've done all that. I've been there and done it all, and I thought at the time it was a great thing to do. I realised the folly of what I was actually giving to people myself. It's not necessarily, it wasn't my fault, and it's not the other coach's fault. That's the level of exercise understanding that they know. We're just ignorant to the truths sometimes. And the truths, like this stuff has been set down in sports science, sports and exercise science, in human biology and physiology for a long time, guys. We're talking 50 years plus. We've known it for a very, very long time. Always ask, are you producing meaningful force? Does the direction equal the direction of the sport? Is the magnitude or the load comparable to the sport demands? Stability. Stability is basically balance limiting output. Progression. Can it be progressively overloaded? There's kind of 5 things that you need to look at. And if just a couple of those fail, then you've got a massively weak transfer. If more than 2 out of those 5 fail, you have zero transfer. Zero transfer to the sport that you are trying to improve. And it's really, really important, yeah? I'm not arguing that point, yeah? This is a diagnosis of a problem. Instability caps off force. If you've got low force, you've got a low transfer. Do you understand? The sport skill belongs in the sport. That's it. So again, this is what transfers, right? This is what transfers in the gym. The capacity, yeah? Your maximal strength, your power potential, your tendon and tissue tolerances, your trunk stiffness. That's an important one. And then in your sport, as opposed to the gym, in your sport, sprinting, jumping, cutting, throwing. The sport is an expression of the things that you need to do, the way you need to move, the motor control learning. That's how you better it. If you're a boxer, box. You don't need to box with weights in your gloves because that's giving you a negative transference. You don't need to box with bands tied around your hands. That will give you a negative transference. You are down training your motor control patterns. If you box with 16 ounce gloves or 18 ounce gloves or 10 ounce gloves, use them. Use it as exactly as you possibly can. If it looks athletic, if it challenges your stability, if it's called functional patterns or it's chaotic, or they say it's like a game-like thing, right? That's just content that these guys are putting out. That's not actual performance. It's not performance, guys. So, if you can't load it, you can't train it. If you can't measure it, then no one can defend it. Simple as that. Say that. If you can't fully load something, you're wasting your time. Guys, that's it for this session. I've probably gone way over. I'll put this as a I'll put this onto YouTube, and hopefully I can get it onto TikTok as well. I hope you've enjoyed what I've been saying. I hope you take this on board. Again, leave me messages down below. I will come back to you. Till then, you take care, and I'll see you on the next one.